are storms that bend trees, and then there are storms that rewrite the map. On October 28, 2025, Hurricane Melissa didn't just strike Jamaica, it tried to erase it. Meteorologists called it the strongest storm ever to hit the island. A monstrous Category 5 with winds topping 180 miles per hour. The eye of the storm churned over the small western town of New Hope, but the despair it unleashed touched every single parish. The first headlines told a grim story of catastrophe, widespread flooding, collapsed bridges and roads. Early reports estimated over 500,000 people were without power, that nearly 1.6 million residents were directly in the storm's path. Thousands were left without nothing. But beyond the shocking statistics and the satellite images of destruction, another story is unfolding in the heart of Jamaica. It's a story you won't see in the official damage reports. It's the story of what happens when everything is taken, all you have left is who you are. In the face of complete devastation, how do you even begin to rebuild from nothing? You hear it in the voice of the people themselves. A fisherman tells us, "We lost everything. It's a matter of hours. The sea that gave us life, it came back and take it back." A mother says, "The headlines tell you that we are victims, that we are in a disaster zone." A community leader adds, "But what them don't see is what happened now. Don't see the real Jamaica." This is not just Jamaica you see on the postcards. It's real life, the immediate aftermath of the storm of the century. And in the new reality, you find the heroes. For Simone, the spark was the sound of her child's laughter. Amidst all the mud and ruin, her youngest found a half-broken toy. In one simple, innocent moment, Simone saw not what was gone, but what was still there, her family. With her bare hands, she starts to clear the entrance to her home. It's a monumental task, but it's an act of defiance, an act of hope. Her neighbour sees her and comes over with a shovel. No words were exchanged. None were needed. For Michael, the spark was a choice. He could focus on destroyed buildings, or he could focus on the people who once filled them. He gathered a few teenagers, and they begin the simple, vital work of checking on the elderly. They go door to door, not as officials, but as neighbors. Their simple question: are you all right? Do you need water? Becomes an anthem of solidarity. At a local community center, they start handing out bottled water and tarpaulin to anyone who needs them. This is the turning point. This is the moment people stop being victims of a storm and start writing their own story of survival. It's the decision made in countless homes and hearts across the island to not wait for a rescue, but to begin the rescue themselves. In that individual spark quickly catches fire. Across Jamaica, quiet, powerful mobilization is underway. woven from the very fabric of the culture. It's a phenomenon born of shared history and deep-rooted community bonds. It's the spirit of one cocoa, full basket. The belief that every small action adds up to something whole. Let's be clear, the journey is far from over. The scale of the devastation is immense. The numbers are staggering. An estimated 6,000 people are displaced. It will take months, if not years, to rebuild the homes, the schools, the hospitals that were lost. The economic impact, especially on tourism and agriculture, is staggering. And the emotional toll, this trauma, will linger long after the physical scars have begun to heal. There are days filled with frustration, the slow pace of clearing the debris, the uncertainty of insurance, the sheer exhaustion of it all. The road ahead is long and is paved with challenges. But even in the struggle, signs of new life are emerging, beautiful and defiant. In a town where the school was destroyed, classes are being held in a tent, and the sounds of children learning once again fills the air. In a coastal village, a community kitchen has become the new town square, a place where stories are shared over a meal and laughter. For a moment, drowned out the sorrow, a farmer whose fields were washed away has carefully planted a single new seed in a pot, a quiet promise of a future harvest. These aren't grand gestures. They are small, vital signs of a nation refusing to be defined by a single event. They are proof that recovery isn't just about rebuilding the structures. It's about restoring hope. It's about reclaiming the rhythm of daily life. One repaired roof, one shared meal, one planted seed at a time. The work is hard, but the spirit is harder. Hurricane Melissa was a storm of historic power, a force of nature that brought Jamaica to its knees. But the storm made one critical miscalculation. It underestimated the strength of the Jamaican people. It mistook a small island for a small spirit. The story of Jamaica today isn't just one of just devastation. It's the ultimate story of resilience. It's a story of David, who is now teaching younger fishermen how to build a boat from salvaged parts. It's a story of Simone, whose small act of clearing her own doorway inspired her entire street to organize a community-wide cleanup. And it's a story of Michael, whose impromptu wellness checks have blossomed into a volunteer youth network that support the most vulnerable. Their journey of rise again has just begun, fueled by a spirit that cannot be broken. It's a spirit captured in a timeless Jamaican proverb, a mantra now whispered in the street, felt in the very heart of the recovery. We're likkle, but we tallawah. We are small, but we are mighty.
The devastation is terrible in Westmoreland. The people are really desperate. They need water, they need food. There are many communities that are still cut off and where we need to open them up so that they can have some source of comfort and assistance. So this is the time now to really rev up the assistance, get it deployed into the communities. Work with the members of parliament because they know where the needs are. Work with the churches, work with the NGOs that want to help so we can put a full force national effort with international support behind saving our country and rebuilding our country. And I'm committed to working, if I'm allowed, with the government to, in a joint effort to make it happen. And the people are very happy to see us. And I think we should be facilitated so that we can give them a sense of hope as well, that we're not forsaking them, that they matter, and that they're going to get support. And that's the message I've been bringing today.
Our people need food, they need water, they need everything. It's total destruction, total disaster. But we are here. We are here to do an assessment, to go back to ensure that we can get the necessary things that this constituency wants so we can move forward. We're going to build back stronger, and we're going to ensure that we take care of every Jamaican and every citizen of Western Westmoreland. That's the commitment they have from me as their member of parliament. Thank you.
I'm saying to residents, I'm here with you. My own accommodation in South Sea Park was destroyed as well. I'm trying to get to all the communities, but I use the same roads that you use. If they're blocked, I can't get there either. So we're trying to engage members, people who have backhoes, chainsaws and those things, so that we can clear the road and open up back access to the residents. Yes, I'm grateful that the leader has been here himself and he's been assisting in speaking to persons within the government and in the private sector so we can get help to the people of Eastern Westmoreland. I can make one assurance to you that we will never leave you and we will never forsake you and we will never allow anybody to treat this constituency like it doesn't matter. It will remain at the forefront for attention.
So hold strain, be positive, believe in our God, and everything will be all right. One love.
One love, one love, one love. It's the motivator here. This is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. How you feeling, people? How you feeling? How you feeling? Wow. It has been a truly enthralling few days since the last time we met. And indeed, a superstorm and a super hurricane hit the Caribbean, hit Jamaica. And later on, in 40 minutes, we will focus on what happened and the recovery that the people have in place. So between now and then, stay with us because we've got some powerful interviews coming up with Jamaicans who are determined to recover. And those of you who've been able to watch that intro video, give you a sense of the spirit and the resilience, the strength of the people. The spirit of the people is speaking to you directly from here. But we here in the diaspora are responsible to support those in the Caribbean, making sure during their time of great need that we're for them. In unity is strength. You understand the power of those words. So stay with us. There's much we need to do between now and then. But what I am mindful for is that I put out a message to you all, requesting videos, requesting pictures, photos of what has happened to you and your families. Okay. But I've been counseled by wise men and women on this particular point. And later on, I will clarify what I've had to do in response to that wise counsel. And there's good reason, and I'll explain myself shortly. But between now and then, in 40 minutes, we'll get to the main interview. So just hold on there, hold on there. So before I begin, just want to say to you all, thank you for your support. Thank you for your feedback. It has been wonderful. And there's testament, good testament, as to why the Motivator Show exists. In unity is strength, because success is ours, collectively ours, for the taking. Thank you, thank you. This part of the show is a tradition to acknowledge one or two of our past contributors, because they continue to contribute not only to this show, but to the communities that we all serve, that we hail from. Okay. And it's important to remember those contributors because they're always individuals who are carefully chosen, groups who are carefully chosen because they merit this level of exposure. Because their contribution to the community is usually ordinary people engaged in extraordinary activities, because we are all change makers. Those of you who recall very recently the episode where we asked the question, and this is a very important question: what is it to be a Pan-Africanist? Do you recall? You recall the significance of that particular episode. You recall how the two young brothers, two young heroes and heroines, were able to answer in response to that question posed to them. Okay? I want you to consider this way. It was important. 7 ways in which Pan-Africans' ideas are changing the world. That was a powerful The Motivator Show episode, truly powerful. I want to give love, respect, of course, to King Kabbalah, love, respect to Pigmen. I want to recognize their wisdom. Okay. The further podcast that follows up with that interview has not yet been published. We've been the Hurricane Melissa situation's got in the way, but it will be published in the next few weeks. The entire podcast, I'm assuring you, is truly an inspirational experience. I want to honor respect to them both. Thank you. Thank you, both of them. Thank you. Absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. You've moved people, even those who don't want to be moved. They have been moved. I also want to give love and respect to the people of Biafra. Yes, I want to recognize them. I want to recognize the UK leader. Thank you again, sir, for your presence. I, of course, want to recognize that prisoner of conscience, Mansi Nyamdi Kanu. Yeah, the prisoner of conscience. Okay. Who was illegally kidnapped from Kenya and transferred to Nigeria, where he's been held incarcerated illegally. And he's now going through a bureaucratic legal process to win his freedom again. I believe the Nigerian government is making a profound mistake. A profound mistake. Okay. In unity is strength, but so is respect as part of that unity. Unity and respect go hand in hand. Okay. Recognize the Igbo people, recognize Biafra. Give them their independence, give them their autonomy. And therefore, Nigeria will be much the better for that. This is what happened here in Britain. Yep. Here in Britain, Northern Ireland, in Scotland, yes, and in Wales, similar organizations exist, but they've found accommodation. So it remains a united kingdom until, of course, the people decide otherwise. Not the government, the people decide otherwise. The Nigerian government will be well to take on board, to study the history, more recent history of Britain. Here, I'm based here in London, in Britain. Now, my third quick announcement, and I'm again recognizing more recent contributors to the Motivator show, and I say again, I've been immensely proud of the contributions of my more recent guests. Okay, they've all been truly inspirational, and I know this by your feedback. Your feedback has been second to none. We're now on the 1st of November. Here in Britain, on the 11th of November, is what they refer to as Remembrance Day, where they remember those fallen heroes and heroines. Yeah. But of course, many of us from Africa and the Caribbean, in our family line, I suspect it's highly probable that there was a member of your family who participated, who was a hero or heroine of the First World War, and most certainly the Second World War. But reasons that I'm not completely understanding, even in my own family, that memory was lost. Discovered in my own family, members were in the First World War, fallen heroes and heroines. And indeed, upon research, it became apparent that the majority of families in the Caribbean today, most certainly in Jamaica, yet again Jamaica, a member of that family had representative, a member of that family in the First World War. And yes, I will remind you that even here in Britain, despite the fact that they came on the front, as it was referred to, many of those names are not in the war memorials, mausoleums. They're not mentioned, but that is being put right as we speak. I want to give praise and respect, of course, to the Caribbean and African heroes and heroes, ex-servicemen and women. I want to recognize them. I also recognize Paul Chambers, or Bright. That is the British West India Regiment Trust. Well done. Keep up the good works. And the special episode that we relate to our fallen heroes and heroines of the First World War will be shown before the 11th of November. Thank you all. Thank you all for that. And I know many of you, some of you, in fact, yes, many of you will be surprised by that statement. But I'm assuring you, if you were to make contact with us and we were able to refer to your family lineage, I'm assuring you, you would discover a relative of yours served in the First World War. It is an astonishing fact. It is an astonishing fact, but it just goes to show the importance of education. Why, particularly in the Caribbean, I know in part of Africa, the education that was taught was one that was highly, well, politicized, and was one designed to forget our heroes and heroines. But it's up to us. It is up to us not to complain. It's up to us to fill that void, because it is a void. It is a void, an information void. It's up to us to fill that information void. So go back to the Motivator show on the YouTube channel, and you'll see that episode. But in a few days, you'll see the entire podcast of 3 episodes. And I'm assuring you, you'll be truly inspired. Truly inspired. And those are just 3 of many episodes of 2025 that have truly inspired you all. I want to thank you for your support. Thank you for your advice and guidance, indeed your wisdom. Thank you. I will continue doing this because clearly, the impact is tremendous. Thank you again for your support. Keep up the good work, each and every one of you. Thank you. Next stage of our podcast, of course, is about you. We'll spend a few minutes, just a few minutes, discussing our lifestyle. This section of the podcast is devoted to lifestyle messages because our health, there's a clear and present danger. I dare say that in your immediate family, or indeed yourself, there are members of the family who are suffering from diabetes, high blood pressure or hypertension, obesity or fatness, cancers, or mental health. Okay? Throughout our families, these conditions are proliferating at a rate of not at levels which are above the usual national or international norms. And what I see still, but it has improved since we started the lifestyle messages section, is a lack of awareness of the scale, the scope of these public health conditions that pervade our communities. I urge you to observe these messages just for a few minutes. It could help you, your loved ones, your family, your friends, and indeed your wider network. It could help. Just a few minutes. Lifestyle messages. This is a public emergency alert, a public health alert. I want you to understand these messages. Now, I'm not the professional. Note, I am not the professional. But I am exposed to information, good quality information about my health and well being, both my physical and my spiritual health. Mhm. And it behooved of me to share this information with you, either directly or through the professionals themselves. The public health director for London, he's a Jamaican man. Yes, he's a Jamaican man. Mhm. I want you to listen to this man, a professor, the public health director for London. I want you to listen to his words, to his recommendations, and how we can promote good health and well-being. Just for a few minutes, only 2 to 3 minutes. I just want you to listen. And I hope you would agree with me that these messages are far your back. Listen first to far what Professor Kevin Fenton says, I'm a public health director. Here are 5 things you can do to improve your health. 1. Mindful and balanced eating. Nourish wisely. Eat whole, balanced meals with awareness to support energy and well-being. 2. Get outside. Be with nature. Time outside reduces stress, improves mood, and strengthens your connection to the world. 3. Stay curious, stay engaged, explore new interests, keep your mind sharp, build social contacts, and boost your happiness. 4. Get active, move it or lose it. Move daily, lift weight, and do cardio. Exercise, improve physical, mental, mood, and energy. 5. Prioritize rest and sleep. Disconnect. Rest. Quality sleep supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and overall health. There you go. Those 5 relatively simple messages from Professor Fenton. By the way, after that of the University of Devastates, Professor Kevin Beck has come out to the top at the first Caribbean, the world's public health emergency, the diabetes public health emergency. Like every other family, indeed, will be two-spirited of family. There are members of those families with diabetes alone, hypertension, high blood pressure, not far behind. So listen, the pictures and videos I've seen these past 2 days testament that the obesity in the Caribbean is definitely a problem.
and the consequence is seriously broader general health and well-being. Professor Devastates noted, diabetes is a big problem. I urge you to share the public health message. This message is for you. To respond to. This is the motivated care. This is there. We translate our words into action. And where success is ours for the taking. It is for you, not for me. It is for you to understand that if we consider our lifestyle and the implications it might have for our health, that we can make a difference for ourselves, for our loved ones, and those within our networks. And together, we transform our families, our communities, indeed, our societies. We are the change makers, as King Kabbalah would say. We are all the change makers. So what I'm heartened by is the numbers of you who've heard these simple, straightforward messages and responded by coming together in common aim and common purpose, pooling your resources so you can exercise together, be aware of your eating, what you do in order to promote good mental and spiritual health. I'm really heartened by the numbers of communications I've received. Thank you for your support. And no, thank you for supporting yourselves. Thank you for supporting your families and your wider communities, because together we can make the difference. And I've got examples here of communities have come together in common aim and common purpose, responding to the public health announcement and understanding it's for you, not for me, it's for you, for your family and your wider networks. Because together it's understood you have the power for change, for goodness. I will give you an example of a group of people who've come together in common aim and common purpose, who've understood if we pool our resources, we can exercise together. Because yes, you can do it by yourself. You can do it by yourself and go really fast. Whoa, yes. But those who do it together, their growth is sustained because they're all supporting each other. Their growth is assured because you're not alone. You're never alone. You're always part of family. You're always part of a network, and you're all supporting each other. I would show you the example of people who've come together in common aim and common purpose. They're based here in London. I'm immensely proud of their numbers, and they continue to grow again and again and again. There we are. And it's time for you to get up now. Let's exercise together. Yes, let's exercise together. Come on, get up off your chair now. Let's get up off your chair. That's right. That's right. You can make a difference. That's right. Let's bend your knees. She's smiling at us. That's right. Oh, wow. That's it. How you doing this? Oh, I can see through your camera now. Okay. Oh, yes. done, you. Excellent. Oh, there you go. Turn it around now. Perfect. There you go. Perfect. There you go. Put your hands up. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. That's perfect. Well done. You've got it. Well done. You've got it. I think you would agree that was great. And that what happens when you all come together in common aim and common purpose. Understanding if we engage each other in this way, in a positive, communal way, that we could together improve our general health and well being. Of course, it's important for me to say at this point that if you have real concerns about your health, please, I urge you to go and obtain professional advice and guidance. That is the only way forward. Do not suffer in silence. It's important to obtain professional advice and guidance. If in doubt, ask questions. But I think you would agree with me, but they're a good example of people who've come together in common aim and common purpose to exercise, be conscious of what they eat, conscious of their lifestyle, be conscious of their spiritual health. It's so vitally important. Here, the Motivator Show, we are holistic environment. And therefore, we have to be concerned about your physical, mental, and spiritual health. And if you're in London, if you're in South London, and you want to join this group of people, why don't you join them? In fact, let me find the details for you. I think I can find the details. There we go. Their details are that they meet every Monday and Wednesday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. here in South London at 12 Tatum Street, Tatum Street in London. That's postcode S for sugar E17 1TN. And their email address, if you wish to reach out to them, it's countdown 0405 at gmail.com. Telephone number, again, if you're in the UK, it's 07960 803 588. I commend their work. Well done, Countdown. Well done. Keep up the good works. Well done. There you go. And I hope you'd agree with me, those few minutes are important. We sit and we often live sedentary lifestyles. Yeah? It has consequences. Yeah, we have consequences, but have met tens of thousands of you now who've heard those messages and have responded. We want to thank you. No, get it right. You thank yourself for hearing the messages, because there's obviously tens of thousands who've heard the messages but have not responded to them yet. We want you to, because we are one community, one people. We are the human race. One community. We are the human race. If an alien came to meet us, and indeed, according to what's happening out there in space in 3I Atlas, a curious object which is now passing around the blind side of the sun and likely to be visible to us in a week or so's time. It's operating in a manner that suggests it has intelligence behind us. So meeting a alien intelligence may not be too far away. Watch this space, because we definitely will report that on the Motivator Show. But they will see us as a single species, as a single race. Therefore, we are our brothers and sisters keepers. I say again, we are our brothers and sisters keepers. There you are. You said it. Thank you for those. Thank you for your listening ears. Thank you for staying with us. But that message was an important lifestyle message to share with you. And my last announcement before we go to the main theme for today's show. Okay. I want to just remind you that, of course, whilst the Motivation Show is based here in London, and as you well know, we are very much of the African diaspora. Okay, my own family has been away from the continent until this generation for over 250 years. More than 250 years. Yeah. Can you imagine being away from your source for more than 250 years? Actually cut off from your culture, your traditions, your language, yeah? From your spiritual energy. Can you imagine being in that situation? But there are hundreds of millions of people like me out there across the world, in the Caribbean, the Americas, North America, and Europe. Hundreds of millions. And of course, it creates significant issues. Okay. The one issue that has more recently occurred here in Britain is the treatment of, indeed, my parents' generation, and indeed consequential generations. Okay. And we call this the Windrush scandal. My parents were born British under the 1948 Act, and at the Parliament in Britain, they were born British. But successive acts of Parliament remove their identity as British. So even though they were asked, invited, encouraged to come to Britain in the late 50s and 60s, early 60s, to work because they had so many jobs which were unfilled. In other words, a significant brain drain, particularly from the Caribbean and particularly West Africa, a brain drain to Britain. And worked hard. Parents were hard workers. They had the work ethic, as the current Prime Minister would say. They graft. Yep, they were grafted. They worked hard. Took very little from the public purse, but paid considerably in terms of their taxes. We call this the Windrush scandal. It was recognised by prime ministers that they are indeed British, despite the Acts of Parliament. And any treatment of that generations, the subsequent generations, is immoral. The United Nations rapporteurs recognise as being immoral and potentially against international law. But there are still tens of thousands of the diasporans, referred to the Windrush pioneers, as it were, okay, who need to seek the support they justly deserve. I want to point out to you that there is legal services available for most local authorities, but I want to point out this particular legal service. They were here on the Motivator Show. If you are impacted by the Windrush scandal, I urge you to reach out to the Windrush Legal Advice Clinic. They're based at 58 Bank Street in the West Midlands, postcode WV148PD. Email address, it's info@windrushlegaladviceclinic.com. I say again, email address, info@windrushlegaladviceclinic.com, or telephone number if you're in the UK, it's 01902 382-542. If you're overseas, you remove the 0, it's +44. I commend the Windrush Legal Advice Clinic to you all. Nevertheless, there is, of course, another guest I've had here. His name, of course, is Anthony Brown, who's been working closely with the Home Office and ministers to argue for a Windrush Act to put right the faults of the previous Race Relations Act that was passed by Parliament. I want to just bring up his details on screen. So we're calling for a Windrush Act. The time for action speaks louder than words. Time for action is now. Translate our words into action. Contact WD Legal, which is www.wdlegal.co.uk. Join the Windrush Act campaign to secure this act. It's most important. And together, we will all make the difference. It is a worthy cause. I say again, it is a worthy cause to put right past injustices. If in doubt, ask questions. And I say to you all, if in doubt, ask questions, because I know that there's lots of doubt out there. So look, send a message to me here at The Motivator Show at 501 at gmail.com. I repeat, The Motivator Show 501 at gmail.com. There you are. Very important. If you've any doubt, send a message through to us and we'll signpost you to the correct organization or individuals as appropriate. It is vital that these messages are received by you and responded by those who are affected by the Windrush scandal. All prime ministers to date have acknowledged that you are entitled to British citizenship. There you go. Well done. Well done to you all. Well done. Well done. And my last announcement, The Motivator Show is going to Burkina Faso. In fact, let me put the details up on the screen. Okay, there you go. Okay, there you are. There you are. We intend to visit Burkina Faso from the 26th of January to the 9th of February. And if you wish to join us, send a message through to us, okay? And the email address is as follows. The future is Burkina Faso at outlook.com. The future is Burkina Faso at outlook.com. All the information will be sent to you. It will be an important visit. You know, we belie all the propaganda that some press here in the UK, Europe, and others which wish to divide us from our roots. I would give my respect, of course, to His Excellency President Ibrahim Traoré, a young man, the youngest world leader at this time. Well done, President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. And well done to all the leaders of the Sahel states who are now coming together in common aim and common purpose to create that Pan-Africanist state, a united States within that part of Africa. Well done. Well done. I paused there because I wanted you to absorb this information. Well done. If only we could persuade Nigeria to join with the Sahel state. If only we could persuade Ghana to join with the Sahel state. Can you imagine the incredible prowess such a joint-up state would possess? Can you imagine? Oh, my dear, it would be outstanding anyway. The future is what we make of it. There you are. The future is what we make of it. All righty. I think the time has arrived for the key purpose of today's podcast. And that is Super Hurricane Melissa. On the 28th of last month of October, it hit Jamaica. It went over, of course, Cuba and Bahamas, I should also point out. But it most certainly hit Jamaica. it has caused significant loss of property. Significant. It could have been much worse if it had gone over urban centres such as Kingston. Kingston most certainly suffered with floods, but the areas that it most certainly went over, it caused significant disruption, destruction of property, and unfortunately some loss of life as well. It is one that it is a reminder of global warming. The countries such as Jamaica emit 0.02, if that, of a single percent of carbon into the atmosphere. But yet it is suffering disproportionately the impact of global warming. Yeah? The Caribbean Sea and the South Atlantic Sea is warming up at a rate of knots, which is the root cause for these hurricanes, intense weather conditions. We as a nation here in Britain, need to take this particular subject even more seriously. It is an obvious emergency. It doesn't yet impact Britain to the same extent to which it is impacting places in the Caribbean. Because remember, it is 2 years running where we have a major intense storm that caused significant loss of property, and indeed it caused loss of life. All the projections suggest this will only get worse. And in the interview, my guest asked the question, are these islands viable in the long term? You cannot suffer these types of catastrophic climatic conditions every year and remain sustainable. It is a hard question. So before going to the main interview, I want to play just a short part of the intro video. For those of you who missed the beginning of the show, which actually starts from 7:45 with the intro video, I want to play just a small part of that intro video and then move into the main interview, which has been partially recorded, but I will have some live guests here in the studio to speak to a subject of Superstorm Hurricane Melissa and its impact on Jamaica. I want you to pay attention to this intro video because it contains vital information.
There are storms that bend trees, and then there are storms that rewrite the map. On October 28, 2025, Hurricane Melissa didn't just strike Jamaica, it tried to erase it. Meteorologists called it the strongest storm ever to hit the island. A monstrous Category 5 with winds topping 180 miles per hour. The eye of the storm shone over the small western town of New Hope, but the despair it unleashed touched every single parish. The first headlines told a grim story of catastrophe, widespread flooding, collapsed bridges and roads. Early reports estimated over 500,000 people were without power, that nearly 1.6 million residents were directly in the storm's path. Thousands were left without nothing. But beyond the shocking statistics and the satellite images of destruction, another story is unfolding in the heart of Jamaica. It's a story you won't see in the official damage reports. It's the story of what happens when everything is taken. All you have left is who you are. In the face of complete devastation, how do you even begin to rebuild from nothing? You hear it in the voice of the people themselves. A fisherman tells us, "We lost everything. It's a matter of hours. The sea that gave us life, it came back and take it back." A mother says, "The headlines tell you that we are victims, that we are in a disaster zone." A community leader adds, "But what them don't see is what happened now. Don't see the real Jamaica." This is not just Jamaica you see on the postcards. It's real life, the immediate aftermath of the storm of the century. And in the new reality, you find the heroes. For Simone, the spark was the sound of her child's laughter. Amidst all the mud and ruin, her youngest found a half-broken toy. In that one simple, innocent moment, Simone saw not what was gone, but what was still there. Her family. With her bare hands, she starts to entrance to her home. It's a monumental task, but it's an act of defiance, an act of hope. Her neighbour sees her and comes over with a shovel. No words were exchanged. None were needed. For Michael, the spark was a choice. He could focus on destroyed buildings, or he could focus on the people who once filled them. He gathered a few teenagers, and they begin the simple, vital work of checking on the elderly. They go door to door, not as officials, but as neighbours. Their simple question: are you all right? Do you need water? Becomes an anthem of solidarity. At a local community centre, they start handing out bottled water and tarpaulin to anyone who needs them. This is the turning point. This is the moment people stop being victims of a storm and start writing their own story of survival. It's the decision made in countless homes and hearts across the island to not wait for a rescue, but to begin the rescue themselves. In that individual sparks quickly catches fire. Across Jamaica, quiet, powerful mobilization is underway, woven from the very fabric of the culture. It's a phenomenon born of shared history and deep-rooted community bonds. It's the spirit of one cocoa, full basket. The belief that every small contribution adds up to something whole. Let's be clear, the journey is far from over. The scale of the devastation is immense. The numbers are staggering. An estimated 6,000 people are displaced. It will take months, if not years, to rebuild the homes, the schools, the hospitals that were lost. The economic impact, especially on tourism and agriculture, is staggering. And the emotional toll, this trauma, will linger long after the physical scars have begun to heal. There are days filled with frustration, the slow pace of clearing the debris, the uncertainty of...
This is the motivator here. This is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. And I've got someone here who's an example of success is ours for the taking. A man who doesn't relent. He's unrelenting, focused, determined. He truly lives up to the essence of who we are as a people. Determined, focused, visionary, but full of compassion. I have with us a true national institution here in Britain. And his face is recognized, I know, by the majority of those of you who are watching or listening. Indeed, you'll hear his voice at the moment, listening to this podcast. But I'm not going to say his name. As you know, that's not my custom here. I'm going to ask him to introduce himself, say who he is. He might want to tell you his family status, hey, who knows, okay? But he might share with us either his organizations or share with us some ideas of successes for the past 12 months. Over to you, sir, comrade, brother. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to come along to your podcast. As you know, you and I have had very many discussions on air, off air, late nights, and long hours around some of the most fundamental issues affecting our community. You continue to do your job, which is to broadcast and amplify those initiatives that you believe are making a material difference to our community. You challenge in relation to Black leadership, so people are held to account. And you yourself has been as consistent as I've been in relation to ensuring that you, whatever you do, focus on trying to make the best strategic choices and priorities for our community. So I'm delighted to be on your show, Mr. Investigator Motivator. But my name's Lee Jasper. I'm a born and bred British activist here, hailing from the northern tundra of Greater Manchester, and an economic migrant to London some 40 odd years ago now. And I'm a father, I'm married. People know me on my social media, my wonderful wife, Jacqueline, who's Jamaican. We have 9 children. We have 8 grandchildren. And now we have 5 great-grandchildren.
You are blessed. You are blessed.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I've worked as a passionate advocate for Black communities and families who are facing injustice. I've worked, stood outside Scotland Yard, and I've sat inside City Hall as a senior political advisor to Ken Livingstone. And it served 8 years in that position. I founded Operation Black Vote, the 1990 Trust, the very first Black website. Now, sadly, no longer here, but people may remember Black Information Link, which the great Lester Holloway used to edit for us. And we were constantly pushing out the information needed for our communities in terms of our condition and what was happening to us. So I've had an illustrious 40-year career. I'm very blessed in the fortune that I've had. I've had some huge challenges and fights during that time, but supported by the ancestors and good people like yourself, I've emerged into my retirement age now at 66, and allow me the time to be reflective and think about, what are the legacies for Lee Jasper? What are the legacies for the Black British community more widely in the United Kingdom? And that all important issue of internationalism and making the appropriate links across the world with the African diaspora. So that's me. My eldest daughter's 55. My youngest child is 24. And yeah, I'm building a dynasty out here.
Rather, my gosh, you are truly blessed, I have to say.
I am blessed. I am.
And your wife's Jamaican, and you're on your side is your
Yeah, my
mum and
father's
dad?
from a little village up in the mystic, romantic hills, the conical, mystic hills of St.
Ah,
Catherine.
ah,
And it's a little village there called Boyce Content, where it's a bit like Tennessee or one of those areas. Everybody's got the same surname. You know what I mean? They're all McCullers.
ooh,
Not necessarily all cousins.
oh,
It's just
right.
that the plantation McCullough was there, and so lots of people adopted. It doesn't mean they're related. They're not, obviously. So yeah, but it's a tiny little village. When it rains, you can't get down the hill. You can't get up the
Mm-hmm.
hill. It's quaint. It's the most noise you'll hear is the cockerel at 6:30, 5:30 in the morning. It's quiet. None of the sort of noise of Kingston or the city. I just find it so relaxed. It's hard to get to, but once you get there, you're on top of the world in Jamaica, and it's wonderful. So he comes from Boys Content. My mother's
Yes.
half English, half African. Her father was from Sierra Leone and came to Britain in 1896 as a merchant. Actually, came as a stowaway on a ship at age 15, and they caught him at Liverpool and they deported him. And he went straight back to Sierra Leone and got on the very next ship and came back on the next ship. He arrived in Liverpool. He stayed there for a little while, and then they went to Scotland, as most Africans did. There was a growing African community in the early 1900s in Scotland. But of course, he had to escape Scotland after 1919, where we know that there were significant race riots across the country, which were led by and fomented by left-wing communists in Scotland who wanted British jobs for British workers. So my grandfather fled the racist violence that unfortunately in 1919 cost lots of people their lives. Charles Wotton, people in Cardiff, Liverpool, Manchester, Scotland, all over, and relocated to Manchester. And that's where my story begins, I guess.
Fascinating. And as you describe this, we all should look at our family history. We've got a rich tapestry to share. There's a story in that tapestry which is really mind-boggling. And I relatively recently discovered that I've quite a number of my family members who were in the First World War,
Wow.
whose names are not mentioned in the mausoleums here in Britain and on the memorial boards, are not mentioned there at all. But that's part of the work of the Imperial Grave Commission work to, bridge that information gap, because that's racism of the highest order. Can you say you have people come from the empire, as it were, who come over to join the English troops here and died on the battlefield, and yet you deny them recognition? Gosh, it is quite enthralling. So it's an interesting one. But as you describe yourself, what you haven't done is just tell us a little about the organisations that you belong to.
Yeah.
Do you belong to? Yeah, give us some
So
little
many.
idea.
Yeah. Look, I'm elevating. Oh, so maybe that's the wrong word. I'm developing into a sort of grand advisor role, and I have a sort of private business consultancy in which I'm hired by national black organisations to think about their strategic positioning in 5 and 10 years. One of the things I'm very good at is environmental mapping around politics and big changes in policy, procedure, strategy economic trends. And I pull all that together to give black organisations a very clear sense about what the future holds and where they need to position themselves in order to survive. So that's what I do in terms of earning. But what that has meant that of late, I've provided strategic consultancy to Operation Black Vote, the Black Equity Organisation. I founded a couple of organisations, and I've only founded new organisations where I've seen there's a persistent gap. And so one of those areas is the Alliance for Police Accountability, because we need to hold the police to account, and we need a very clear co-produced charter that sets out the fundamentals for anti-racist policing, being co-produced with communities across the country. And therefore, I've set up a programme working with Action for Race Equality, formerly Black Training and Enterprise Group, Jeremy Crook from years and years ago. People may remember that name. And over the next 3 years, we're developing policing charters in 5 of these local cities, reflecting their local priorities and concerns, with a view to pulling it together into a national policing charter ahead of the general election, so that people have got a considered view, an informed view of black communities from these 5 cities about what they want from policing going forward. Because we can all say what's wrong, and that's absolutely fine, and critiques we need to. But at the end of the day, we need to say what kind of policing we want and what it should look like. And we're starting off in Birmingham with the first charter in Handsworth. Birmingham's been in the news very much recently. And so it continues to be a hot topic issue. Then my other organisation that I helped found, it came together with, so if you want the Alliance for Police Accountability, if you look up the Alliance for Police Accountability, you can find us online and join us. That would be great, thank you. And then the other one is the Humanity Project. I've come together after years of focusing on organising black communities. I came to this sort of conclusion that even if I were to, by some miraculous thing, we were to get full equality rights for black people in Britain, and that all discrimination was eliminated, and we had full citizenship rights, and disproportionality was the same thing, that wouldn't really end the global system of white supremacy. It wouldn't stop climate change, which I'm very passionate about and will go on to speak about. It wouldn't end world poverty. It wouldn't see the end of starvation and drought and so on in Africa and so on and so forth. And so I came to the conclusion is that if the kind of politics that you now need to change to save the world, I mean, we were growing up just wanting to change the world. Absolutely. Now this generation is going to have to save the world, both people and the planet. Well, that's a tall order for any people in any community, and it poses quite an existential threat. And so what I've done is say, if you want transformational change, you're going to have to ally yourself with other groups seeking that objective. Indeed. And we sat down with Just Stop Oil, the people who did the orange painting and roadblocks, and I really hope people have got a new perspective on that now that Melissa hit Jamaica, because those guys were prophets, and those young women were suffragettes for the climate, if you like, and hopefully we'll have a different view of them. But talking to them, I said to them, their goals were Just Stop Oil were to stop drilling for gas and oil, no new licenses for gas and oil in the UK. And I said to them, even if you get that, that won't edge climate change. It won't stop racism against black people. It won't, it might tick your boxes, but it doesn't lead to transformational change. And then we brought in people for another organisation. So that was like Just Stop Oil and XR Rebellion. And then we brought in another set of people, which was the Cost of Living Alliance, which is headed up by a friend of mine called Nick Gardner. And they were very much about food banks and school uniform giveaways and electric tokens for your meter, so if you're running short on gas, and debt counselling, all that sort of thing, as well as food banks. And we all had this discussion amongst ourselves over a year, often dinner at my house with leading environmentalists and decided that we needed to create something that was capable of meeting the challenges for the 21st century, and that was a Humanity Project. Now, the Humanity Project, and again, you can look it up, Humanity Project UK, the Humanity Project really is seeking to say, actually, the sort of archaic neoliberal language of party politics has brought the world within a sort of consumerist market economy to the brink of destruction, to the brink of extinction. Our insatiable greed has raped the planet and poisoned the atmosphere. Not finished with that, we are now poisoning the minds of men and women with, the kind of propaganda that we see writ large on the internet. And so we decided that even if all of us were to win our struggles separately, we wouldn't transform the world. And so what we decided is that we all needed to come together. So this is a fantastic alliance between those who are working in those white working class communities that we never go into and rarely have an association with. It's environmental activists who people will know and have a view upon. And it is black activists that I brought along, and anti-racists, black anti-racists, to come together to say, do we have the imagination, the courage to escape the confines of our sort of 20th century traditionalism about the way we do things and how things, and can we go back to first principles, reimagine what our world would look like, and what would that look like, and how would you get there? And so we created a framework for over 40 citizens' assemblies across the country, specifically black citizens' assemblies and white citizens' assemblies and so on. And what we're doing is asking and posing these questions to people to say, what do you think are the kind of politics that can save the planet and save people? I'm very interested in not seeking to people to integrate into a burning house. There's a sense in which we say, if you just work hard in Britain or the US, keep your head down, everything will be all right. And then, well, we know that to be absolutely not true. And now what we have to say is actually, and let me say this, I don't speak from any moral or political superior position. I have been an integrationist, as have we all periodically. But after 60 years of doing this stuff and working with others and seeking change, I've just come to the realization that you have to have a transformative politic. You have to change the fundamental basis of the world economy and world governance and accountability and the nature of democracy, not the sort of corporate sponsored democracy that gives you the best democracy money can buy, but the democracy that pushes down into communities. I often find that white working class communities are sorely pissed off. I'm from the north of the country, and I know what it's like when those mills and those warehouses close down. Drink follows, crime follows, heavy drugs, heroin follows, and you go to some of these places, ex-coal mines and other mines, and you see the physical, traumatic deprivation of poverty on those communities. And of course, my own view is that whereas in the past the trade union movement was invested in adult education in the workplace and in communities and would go out and say, your common enemy as a working man on the shop floor is, whatever. The trade union and labour movement have just abandoned that space. They've abandoned that space. There is no more adult education. So what you've got is poor, deprived, generationally soaked poverty passing from generation to generation, and there is no attempt to educate them into understanding what is a very complicated world. And so all they're left with is the siren voice of the Nigel Farages of this world and the extremities of that and the relentless propaganda that they get on the Met. But nobody's given them the intellectual tools to be able to make sense. You might say, well, it's up to them to educate themselves, and I might somewhat agree with that. But fundamental to a movement is that you have coherence of analysis and strategic view. And the poor working class communities in the north, who are some of the most deprived communities in the country. I saw the poverty index published yesterday, and Blackpool has got 7 areas, Middlesbrough, Newcastle. They're all the areas which are the red wall areas of the far right have been making progress. But these are the areas that have been abandoned by Labour. Yes. And so I have a sort of understanding, or at least an insight, of how they get to their radicalism, how they get to blame everybody else, because the poisonous propaganda is pumped to them every day, and there's no antidote or inoculation through education by trade unions or labour movement to say, well, actually, we're all in this together, and this is why solidarity and alliance and strategic partnership are part
And
of
this
the
is the vision
neoliberal
for the
problem.
organization for
Yeah,
humanity.
yeah.
To
So the
mobilize.
Humanity Project is trying to find, and it sounds incredibly conceited when I'm going to say it that way, anyway, it's trying to find a new language that centers humanity at the center of politics, not
Absolutely.
ideology. And we say that because I think that the ideology of dead men, carries like an anchor around the weight, the forward momentum of progress, because we're always trapped by the Washington Consensus or the war, the clash of civilizations or the whatever shibboleth ideology it might be. And so it's a brave attempt to try and escape that. And we're pulling people together for discussions in 20 cities this year and 20 cities next year to invite them to be part of this conversation. And just the final tip on that, the final thing on that is that as well as the environmental crisis, as well as the crisis in democracy, I don't know if you know the Elderman Barometer Trust, but it tests worldwide confidence in democracy. It's the lowest it's ever been in Western democracies, and that explains the rise of the right. And we all know that when the economy declines in Europe, organised racism and fascism is increasing, and because of Brexit, this country's heading off a cliff in terms of its the economic strategy, and it's going to be very difficult. So pulling all that together is very, very important in considering what is the legacy of understanding about the political challenge we're going to have to give to this next generation, who are engaged in a fight for the very life and soul of the planet. And the most profound crises are climate, are economic. I'm sure you know, but the bond international market, and American, the de-dollarization and the rise of BRICS are making fundamental economy. All of that is very important, but the single most important thing is the empathy deficit. The inability of people to see things through other people's eyes, even if you disagree with them. And here I'm learning some profound lessons myself, because I can be entirely combative and have been in the past. But I think that the thing that I'm learning is sometimes people just need to be listened to, and if you listen to them in a respectful way, you can often earn their respect by the fact that you've given them that space. And what that space requires is, I want you to see me as a human. And if I see you as a thing, a party, an ideology, or so on, then I'm missing part of the picture. And so this Humanity Project focuses on an existential crisis, which is the inability and the empathy deficit, which the internet has eroded to such an extent that we now say things that are absolutely abhorrent and evil, but we're prepared to say them online behind a keyboard. So the Humanity Project, the Alliance for Police Accountability, the strategic role in providing advice for the next generation are all some of the legacy projects that I'm now involved in, as well as writing my own book, which I'm telling
Writing a
you.
book as well.
Writing my own book. It'll
I'm
be
going to
out
ask you to
next year.
pause there. Okay, I'm going to come back to that book. That
All right.
will be an interesting. There you go. I've asked you to pause there. That was a very useful context intro. And that interview goes on for a further 50 minutes or so. And it is jam-packed full of useful information. And what Lee Jasper is able to do, particularly for us here in the diaspora, to ensure that we are part of that campaign against climate change, and to ensure that all governments of Europe and the Americas and other places, of course, respond to the COP announcement that they will reduce the carbon release from these countries. Britain is a primary cause for climate change, which is impacting Jamaica. The reason for that intro, that short intro from Lee Jasper, as I say, goes on, of course, he's one of the very first people of Jamaican heritage to organize a meeting of the people, to establish funds and working with Jamaican institutions. And one such meeting has been organized. In fact, I'll put it on the screen now. There you go. He's organised a meeting, the Jamaica Hurricane Melissa Response Emergency Meeting. It will be held at the Caribou Education Centre, which is 7 Gresham Road, that's London, SW9 7PH. And it'll be this Thursday, the 7th of November, and it will start at 7 p.m. So Caribou Education Centre, some of you, particularly those of a certain age, will call the Abeng Centre. Yes, it's the same building, 7 Gresham Road, and that's postcode in Brixton, SW9 7PH. Thursday, the 7th of November, start at 7 p.m. And it is being co-sponsored, so co-supported by Jamaican National and the Jamaican Mutual organizations. These are long-standing Jamaican institutions who are willing to receive resources for immediate transference to Jamaica. He's working closely with them. He has speakers there, MPs, and hopefully representatives from the I Commission will also be present. And it is hoped that, therefore, with such a important lineup, that we are able to come together and only ensure that we only provide our resources to authentic organizations. What we do not want is you to give your hard-earned cash to an individual organization who do not actually deliver. It is vitally important that that does not happen. Many of you, of course, there you are. That information is on the screen and will be on the go to the YouTube channel. Details of that meeting will also be quoted in the comment section of this YouTube channel. Last year, you recall that we did a special show focused on Hurricane Beryl. The PNP UK representatives were able to speak directly to that, again, national tragedy. They established a disaster relief fund. And I must say, they demonstrated a determination and a will to succeed. They raised resources and delivered on the ground. Okay. I'm again joined by another representative of PNP UK. I'll just see if I can bring him into the studio, who I believe will be able to give us further details on what PNP's position is in relation to Superstorm Hurricane Melissa, Category 5. Can you imagine having to suffer 185 miles an hour storm winds? Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's see if I can get this representative into the studio, and let's see if we can do this first time. There we go. Oh, it has worked first time. Good morning, sir. Oh my gosh, you look so young and vibrant. Good morning. Good morning. You hear looking like first of all.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Oh my God, I need to adjust my volume and tone there because you've got a very deep, illustrious voice. Oh my gosh. Oh well. We can be so proud of our sons, huh? We can be so proud of our sons. Good morning. Can I ask you first, before I begin, can I ask you just to introduce yourself? Just say your name, the organization you represent, of course, and you might just want to affirm that you are a young man of Jamaican heritage and where your family's from in Jamaica. First of all, just introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Sure thing. So my name is Negril. I'm here as a representative for the PNP UK. A little bit about me. So I was born in Jamaica, actually. I was born in Kingston, but my family are scattered around, so scattered in Kingston, Manchester, Clarendon, quite all around. I just want to say it's a real honor to speak here this morning, not just as a representative for the PNP UK, but as a son of Jamaica, a country that's shaped every part of who I am. My grandparents, my parents, generations before them built their lives on the island. And even though I live here in the UK, my heart has never left home. It's not just where, I'm sure all of us come from, it's who we are. And it's the music in us, the pride in our voices and the resilience in our spirit. So over the past couple of days, like many of you, I've watched what Hurricane Melissa has done and seen the devastation across communities. Yet we've also seen courage, and that's something we should really, take pride in. We've seen unity. We've seen that there is an unstoppable resolve to rebuild Jamaica. Ultimately, when our people hurt wherever we are. But when we rise all together. And that's why we're here at the end of the day. So it's not just to express sympathy, and the statement that I read isn't to do that, just to do that, but it's to stand in solidarity and to act. And so today we're going to ask everybody from the bottom of our hearts, give generously. That's the message. Give generously, give earnestly, and let's try and create some tangible change. We might
before you continue, yes, you're absolutely right. And just before you continue, I just want to make a further announcement. Many of you would have received a message from the Motivator Show requesting if you would send in to us your pictures and videos of the damage caused by Super Hurricane Melissa. Okay. I want to first of all thank those of you who responded. And secondly, I note that I spent significant time watching the videos, studying the photos. Now, we didn't get to that section in Lee Jasper's interview at this point, the interview, but he made a profound observation. Okay. And his observation was as follows. That often, particularly people of African heritage, when faced with this level of catastrophe, this tragedy, where you can see your homes, your community destroyed, yeah? You can see your entire livelihood just wash away. Okay. We tend to internalize it and be strong. But actually, what I found, there is great tragedy and has a profound psychological impact on us, the individuals and the wider communities. And it is for that reason, in recognizing the trauma that I was seeing before me, that I've not put those videos, those photos on today's podcast, in respect for those who are affected, directly affected by the hurricane, and those, of course, whose loved ones have demise as a direct result of the hurricane. Out of respect for them, I have not shown those many hundreds of photos and indeed videos received. Okay. They were, and I now need to acknowledge that many of them were just horrific. Yeah, horrific. There are some places there in Jamaica that have been wiped out. And some of you may have seen some of the videos, but I'm not going to show them here. But here on the Motivator Show, we're concerned with building. We're concerned with unity. Yep, it's strength. We're concerned with thinking forward how we can prevent and create greater resilience amongst the people. Why I've invited the representatives of PNP UK to speak to us today, to outline what PNP UK intends to do in organising people. And we hope we hear from this representative a formal word from the chairman, who couldn't be with us this morning, just so that we've got a sense that we are not defeated. We are not defeated, yeah? We through these experiences of tragedy, yeah, will gain strength. We are resolute. We will not be defeated. Okay. I just need to say that, my comment, Malek. I just need to say that, just so it's clear why the videos and photos not being shown this morning. And to listen to you, one of our sons, you warm our hearts. You warm our hearts. I interrupted, but continue. You're about to say. Good.
No worries at all. Thank you. And I think that's exactly, hit the nail on the head. And it leads sort of perfectly into what I was going to say in that, we may be thousands of miles away, but our duty doesn't waver, right? Our love for Jamaica does not fade with distance. And it's the time more than ever to show how steadfast we are in that conviction, that dignity, that help to do what's just and to build back a better Jamaica. And so with that, I will read the statement, the official statement coming from our chairman. So, dear friends, Hurricane Melissa has torn through Jamaica with a fury unlike anything ever in living memory. Whole communities lie in ruins. Roads and bridges are gone, homes are flattened, schools and hospitals are crippled. From Negril to Morant Bay, Families are sleeping in shelters without light, clean water, or security. Early estimates place the damage in the billions of dollars. Yet behind every collapsed wall is a human story. A mother searching for her child, a farmer watching his crops disappear, a nation aching but unbroken. In this dark hour, the People's National Party UK calls upon the strength, unity, and compassion of our diaspora family and friends around the world. Jamaica has stood tall for us. Now it is our turn to stand tall for her. So we have launched the PNP UK £50,000 Hurricane Melissa Disaster Relief Fund, a lifeline to help restore dignity, rebuild homes, and renew hope for those whose lives have been shattered. So every contribution, whether £5 or £5,000, will go directly towards emergency relief, rebuilding critical infrastructure, and supporting long-term recovery. We will work with trusted partners on the ground to ensure transparency and impact. The needs are urgent: food, clean water, medical supplies, and temporary housing. But beyond these essentials, Jamaica needs reassurance that her sons and daughters abroad have not turned away. Let us transform our grief into action. Let us answer tragedy with solidarity. History has shown that when Jamaicans unite, we are unstoppable. From the Windrush pioneers to today's generation of builders, educators, entrepreneurs, our people have always risen from hardship stronger than ever. Now, through this fund, we can help entire communities rise again. So we urge every member of the PNP UK, every friend of Jamaica, and every organisation that shares our vision of social justice to give generously and share this appeal widely across your networks, churches, businesses, and social media platforms. Together we can meet and surpass our £50,000 target. Together we can rebuild homes, restore livelihoods, and remind our brothers and sisters back home that they are not alone. Hurricane Melissa tried to break Jamaica, but it has only revealed the strength of her spirit and ours. Let that spirit guide us now. Let compassion lead us, and let unity rebuild us. Yours sincerely, on behalf of the PNP UK.
Well said. Thank you so much. That is very heartening to hear from yourselves. And I know, having worked with you last year, that your connection within the communities across Britain and Europe is extensive. You will easily hit that 50,000 marker. Well done, PNP UK. Well done. Well done. Tell me, Comrade Malik, you went out a statement on behalf of PNP UK. You are, of course, one of the younger members. Okay. Do you have an opinion on this issue of climate change and the response of places such as Britain, Europe, and the Americas to the carrion call to reduce their emissions? Do you have an opinion on this? Because you're the generation that will succeed mine. What's your opinion? What is your opinion?
Sure. So my opinion is it's quite simple, right? Some equity, and you've got fairness and you've got equity. I think what's happening now is quite unfair, where a lot of the major powers in the world have built their economies on practices which were destructive, right?
Yes.
Perhaps at the time it wasn't evident as much as it is now, but definitely now we have a lot more information and research that has been done into these areas, and we know, a lot of these fossil fuels, a lot of this unsustainable energy comes at a cost. Now, this cost isn't being paid by the people that it needs to be paid by. It's being paid by nations like ours, and when that happens, that's not fair. It's not equal, especially when countries like Jamaica are trying to build their economy, trying to compete on the world stage. Notwithstanding the history, the colonial legacy that has set back a lot of these nations, right? And so the equitable thing to do is to ensure that during times like this, right, where there has been natural disasters or disasters that have been exacerbated by such behaviors, that there is some form of redress and there is some form of equity in the form of capital, in the form of rebuilding the structures. Right, we can go. I can go on and talk about the fact, talk about reparations and perhaps what form that could take. But the theme that comes to my mind is equity. Right, do what is fair, but what is equitable. And at a time like this, I think number one, there needs to be more research done. I think also there needs to be, I think a proper rumination on what exactly Britain, what exactly the West is doing to help nations like ours, and become a blueprint. If you purport to care about the world and purport to care about equality and justice, well, what better time to show that than now, right?
Yes.
A nation is hurting. A nation, it's not broken, but needs tangible help. And I think that will be a blueprint for true equality going forward. Yes.
Thank you so much. And just to make it clear that the British government announced an initial aid for Jamaica of 2.5 million. Okay. But I understand, since reassessing the situation, a further 5 million has been earmarked for the Caribbean, and of course, mostly that will go to Jamaica. Is what I understand. And that's what I've read this morning. And that's what, 7.5 million. Of course, as the interview with Lee Jasper has alluded to, the costs of clear up and reconstruction will run into the billions. Okay.
Yes.
Look, I know that the British government means well. I know they mean well. That 2.5 billion, now 7.5 million, is a contribution. Okay, and for the reasons and the evidence you put forward, that indeed Britain is the initiator of the Industrial Revolution. There is Britain has emitted, as I say in this interview, not hundreds of tons, not even thousands of tons, not even millions of tons, but billions of tons of carbon dioxide and atmospheric warming gases over a period of 200 years. Yeah, there is indeed equity to be considered here, and you're right. It's unfair. It is unfair. It's unfair. So well said. Can I just go to yourself? You've got family in Jamaica. You're born there as well. Okay. How have your family fared this awful storm? How have they fared?
So I think overall, I will say well, considering the disastrous impact that I've seen in other communities. So my family at the moment are in Kingston and Spalding,
Okay.
and the Kingstonians are, I think, a lot better off in terms of it wasn't as impactful there, but in Spalding and surrounding areas, for days there was no communication, and of course that was incredibly scary, right? Because you're seeing the devastation, you're seeing what's happening, and you can't hear from your family members. But thanks to God, my family are all okay, and it's just about rebuilding and making sure, and again from our perspective, getting that sort of live intel from individuals on the ground and seeing where exactly we can make an impact with things like this, Hurricane Relief Fund. So that's the report at the moment.
Thank you. I understand, because of my contact in Kingston, it's the flooding that's been the issue in Kingston. Flooding, quite extensive flooding, which is, and I suppose at this point, I'm about to do something quite unusual. I want to compliment the big telecom companies here in Britain, and that's, of course, includes BT, EE, and I believe O2, who have now issued a statement that calls to the Caribbean, from the Caribbean, will be significantly discounted, if not 100% discounted, at least for the time being. They've not given us a specified date at which it will stop. So it means that if you want EE, BT, or O2, that you can make calls to the Caribbean, most certainly to Jamaica, effectively for free. Okay. I'll just double check that the plan you're on is included in this current scheme that they've announced. but that's what I understand, and I've tried it myself. At least as far as I'm aware, I won't say which company I'm with. It's the calls I've made thus far in free of charge. There you are. So let's compliment where this compliment is due. This compliment is due. Can I just return to yourself and thank you for your response, and we're pleased that your family are safe. Okay. Have you heard of other families in other parts of the island through the membership within PNP, and what has happened to them? Are you aware of families who have lost their homes, or businesses have been lost, or villages effectively become overwhelmed? Have you heard these accounts?
Indeed, I have, and so I've heard that from family members of members in the PNP UK, and especially in the sort of Black River area. But also, I've heard of individuals in the PNP UK themselves. Their sort of second dwellings have been destroyed, and I think that really touches on the fact that this has affected everybody. At home, in the diaspora, and so now more than ever, there's this conviction to really try and number one assess the impact, because like that, it's anecdotal in the sense where I wouldn't have known unless I'd spoken to somebody that was affected. So especially in the things like you're saying now, it's more important than ever to call home, ask about friends of friends, families of friends, and really see what's been done, because that's the only way we can really know where to target, where to help them, in the best way we can.
It's important to say at this point that whilst Comrade Malik is from the PNP UK, this is not a party political situation. I think the party leader, the Honourable Mark Goldie, made it clear that there is no P in this. It is the people. We're concerned with all people, regardless of which parish, which constituency you're in. We're concerned with you all. Okay. And resources that will be raised are intended for the whole island, not just simply some of the people. It's intended for all the people. I think that would be a fair comment, Comrade Malik. Would that be right?
Indeed, and look, the Hurricane Melissa did not discriminate between any party or any supporter of any party. So yeah, the nail on the head there.
Thank you. And before I let you go, I think it's important to note that, if I may, you are one of our sons. Okay, you spoke well, articulate, and of course, you represent our futures. Okay, what do you say to young people people your age, okay, who are aspiring, living in Britain, Europe, or indeed other places, and looking at Jamaica? What would you say to them about the future? What would share with us some of your ambitions, your aspirations, both yourself, your future family, and indeed the land of our birth? What would you say?
Sure. I think the first thing I'd say is keep that fire in your belly, right? And
Yes.
I think we all know, all of us that love Jamaica, right? We know what that means. Keep the fire there, because that is what's going to help you when it gets hard. When perhaps there might not be an opening for you to help now, or you might not know how to help, but that fire is definitely what will, spur you on to be resolute in your conviction, to help Jamaica. So that's the first thing. I'd say Jamaica we love Jamaica, right? And so I would say, don't look at yourself. And this is something that I've definitely had to, tell myself and figure out, you're just as Jamaican as the individual. I was born in Jamaica, right? And so that's always, if somebody tries to, I suppose, limit my Jamaicanness, I'll say, I was born in Jamaica, right? But it doesn't matter. Born in Jamaica, born abroad, you're still Jamaican, right? Your parents are Jamaican, you're still Jamaican. And so with that, things like go to get your passport, go back, go and see it's yours. And I think, especially now more than ever, especially from the British perspective, there are individuals that will try to, tell us we're not British, or, try and make us feel alienated, whichever way they want to do that. But something that cannot be denied is the fact that Jamaica is your home ultimately, and no matter how far, or how long, sorry, the water is between you, you can always go back and you can always see it. And when you see it, there's a different perspective, right? So I was in Jamaica in early October, and seeing it on through pictures and seeing it when you're there, it's very different. And seeing it every year as it's developing is also very different. So Jamaica's heading in a good direction, right? We're exchanging knowledge. As I was saying before, it's about building on that knowledge base. And I think young people need to understand that they have a big role to play in this, right? Not only in terms of in the future, but also now. Listening to our elders, listening to things that they've done well, that they think they've done well, but also things they want to do in the future and wish that they had done, right? And so it's about that sort of mantle passing. So keep the fire in your belly. You look out for these opportunities. For example, I think a good opportunity is PNP UK. We've now established our youth wing, and so of course that's a very tangible way, right? And it's a very open way of getting involved in Jamaican policy and having these discussions, listening to these discussions, because I always say, it's important to listen more than you speak. And when you listen, you learn. You learn from things that people have done well, you learn from mistakes, but ultimately you learn. And as young people, I think the great thing is we've got time on our side, right? And so start now, try and really try and help now. And then in the future, it takes a million of us to really make some change. And we've got the numbers, right? It's just the direction we need. And so the overall message, I'd say two things, or maybe three things. Keep the fire in your belly, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, seek out these opportunities. They're there, and we will do as much as we can to promote it and to make it accessible as possible for curious, resolute minds that really want to make impact. And I think the third thing is definitely listen, right? Listen, look at what's going on, keep in touch, speak to family members, look online, see what's happening in your country, see where you can make an impact. And if we do that, I think we're heading in the right direction.
I'm going to be naughty here. Let me explain. I was a school governor for more than 27 years. And I see young men and young women like yourself going through the school system here in Britain. And I've noticed that a too large a percentage of them feeling that education didn't matter because they didn't really have a future. Okay. You've spoken well today. I'm going to be naughty. I'm going to ask you, what would you say to those youngsters who are going through primary school, secondary school here in Britain, or indeed in Jamaica or other places, in terms of education? Why is education important to them?
Well, I'll start with a quote. Education is the passport to the future. I'm sure we all know who said that. So I think it comes back to understanding, right? If you understand the world, you understand how you operate in the world. I think a big thing with people that perhaps say that education doesn't matter is frustration, maybe, because they don't see the immediate benefits of education. But that's the point, right? Because as we learn, it's an iterative process. We learn about others, we learn about processes, and especially things like governance, right? Things like policy. If you're not educated, how are you going to vote? How are you going to influence change, right? How are you going to know that your country is going in the right direction? How are you going to learn about others, right? Education is the passport to the future, not just for yourself, but also for your family, right? It's something that, and I think we've had this conversation before. Some individuals want to hide things, and so what do? They hide it in books, right? They hide it in things that are not so accessible for certain people that don't believe that education matters. But ultimately, if you can find it and you educate yourself, you can stand for yourself and with your brothers and sisters, right? And I think there's no better feeling than that. So what I would say to them is try it, right? Try it and let's see. Because I'm pretty sure by the end of it, you go through the system, you become educated, I think you start to find that you're learning things, and it's interesting. And I'm very, very sure that you will have a very different perspective having gone through it. What I will say is that I understand it to an extent, because there is a lot of disenfranchisement, especially in the UK. I found that,
Yes.
right? But again, that's why I said, keep that fire in your belly, because that's what's going to, you're going to push through that barrier. You're going to realize that actually education has unlocked a lot for me. Speaking personally, it has. And that's something that my father and my mother have always been very, adamant about, ensuring that you're educated, right? Formal education is great, fantastic. But there's also sort of informal ways to get educated as well. We've got the internet, right? In my time, I'm so grateful that if I want a piece of knowledge, I can go online. Of course, with results may vary, and you'll have to check the credibility on your sources. But ultimately, the information is there. Wind, rain, sleet, or snow, I have access to information. A lot of institutions have free courses online, and so there, if you want the credibility, as far as you can get it, it's there. Cross-border knowledge as well, but I think education definitely is the passport to the future. Definitely, to the young people that are watching this, try it and find, try it and see, because I'm sure when you do that, you'll understand what we're saying and why we are so persistent on everyone being educated.
Well said. Well said. I'm sure you've turned a few heads today. I'm really proud of your presentation here, and on behalf of the PNP UK, to send amongst their youngest members. Oh yeah, an example of their youngest members, huh? Oh yeah, oh yeah. The future is bright. That is our resilience speaking. This is our resilience speaking. And I know that I've seen the commentary that the desire for practical advice as to how people can support those who are suffering in Jamaica. I think two points, and I know you can maybe reiterate this, that only use official sources. Mhm. Ensure if you're going to give money, it is through officials, those institutions that are recognized, of long-standing, good reputation. So the Jamaican Aid Commission has got a web page which shows the government route into donation. Okay, there will be a meeting next week by Lee Jasper and MPs, others. Okay, who will show a further route to donate to Jamaica, with collaboration of the Victoria Mutual and Jamaica National giving co-sponsorship. And of course, here you have PNP UK or also could be a conduit to give donation in support of the people who have been affected by this tragedy. Okay, so that's the advice for today. Only use authenticated, authoritative, those sources you can trust, with institutions of long standing. Okay, if I say authenticated, authoritative, I mean that, because there are many scammers out there who will say, send it to my personal account and I'll go down there. No, I urge people not to do so. No matter how well you know that person, don't do so. Only use official sources, official channels, of which PNP UK, the Jamaica National, Victoria Mutual, and indeed the High Commission in London and their website shows the government route to give donations. Those are the authenticated sources of conduit to use. Any further comment on that in terms of donations? Comment, Matt, you wish to make, just so we avoid any misunderstanding. Over to you.
I think just to concur with you, it's very important that we don't let the small minority win in this, in this situation. That there are the channels there, and I think one thing that's important to note is this is not a one-off today, sort of or this week, right? This is something that we will need to make sure that we are continuously donating whichever way we can, because it will take a lot. Right, it will take a lot to get back to where we were, and not only back to where we were, to build better, right? And so, even if, and I think this is also very important to note, especially in this time, right? Not everybody is in, let's say, the financial position to donate now, and that's fine, right? There's other ways to make impact, but I think understand that we, and I say we as in Jamaica, we will need your help. right? And so it might not be today, but it can be next week, next month, at the start of the year, the next year. So there will be a chance for you when you're ready to contribute. If you're ready now, fantastic, right? But we understand the realities that a lot of people are dealing with different things, especially let's say in the UK or in America, and so your time will come to help. But when those opportunities are there, certainly I hope I can speak on behalf of PNP UK, not only just through our disaster relief fund, but also any other channels. We will also ensure that Jamaicans have that opportunity and that visibility, and they can see other ways that you can help and get involved, if not just through our fund. Because again, as we're saying, this is not a partisan issue, right? Discriminate, but also neither does equality, or it shouldn't. Equality shouldn't, right? So I think I concur with everything you said, but just a couple of minor points on top of that.
Well said, and just to further re-emphasis that you may not remember this. I'm really sorry to say this. Hurricane Gilbert. Okay. Obviously, I remember it because I was a teenager at the time. It was truly devastating, and those of you of a certain age will remember Hurricane Gilbert. It took the island more than 10 years to recover from Hurricane Gilbert. Okay? In those days, of course, the building standards were much lower than they are today, okay? And it affected Kingston, which made it particularly potent. All the indications are that super hurricane Melissa, category 5, wind speeds of over 180 miles an hour, has caused extensive structural damage, okay, and will take years to recover. So this is not just a one-off interview. This is not just a one-off statement that has been made. We need to come together as a people. Indeed, the wider friends of us come together to support the reconstruction of that part of Jamaica that's been affected by Hurricane Melissa. The details of which will appear on the final edited version of this interview, both the PNP contact details and the fund and how you can donate, as well as, of course, the official government the channels in which you're able to do the same, would appear on the final edited version of this interview. Comrade Malak, I want to thank you for your presentation this morning. You've been truly an inspiration, truly an inspiration. I've got a message on my phone here from a young lady, of course. So it would be the ladies, wouldn't it? Okay. They want your contact details. We'll talk later, don't worry. We'll talk later. But there you are. I'm supposed to ask you. I'm being very naughty. Are you married? Is the question they're asking. Are you married?
Unfortunately, not yet. No.
I think the ladies are going to find you very soon. Son of Jamaica, thank you for speaking with from intelligence, guile, and compassion. You have been an exemplary example of a Jamaican youth, a young person who is our next generation to lead the nation. Thank you for your presentation this morning. Good day to you. Good day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having
Pleasure.
me. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. There you are. There you are. Outstanding, huh? Outstanding. Gosh, an example of the Jamaican youth. There you are. An example of that Jamaican youth. Oh, my dear. Oh, my dear. I believe it will be very helpful for us to hear from some of the politicians in Jamaica, because they're obviously steering this particular ship. They are responsible to ensure that actually what is said by the government is delivered by the government. Okay, and I do believe it's important for us to hear what they have to say. And I want to, with today, really to listen to maybe Comrade Mark Golding of the PNP. Okay, just listen to what he has to say. Could I suspect that what he has to say will be of profound interest to you all? And those of you who would have heard part of the Lee Jasper interview, and forgive me, the intro video, would have heard him speak on this particular point. Okay, and I will have a short intro by him shortly for you. But I do feel it's very important that we listen carefully to the politicians who hold within their gift the ability to redistribute public funds so that the people's pain can be alleviated. And it is not enough for us simply to say that we care. It's important for the elected representative to ensure that the resources, our resources, are actually being distributed in the manner in which we anticipate. So, what I want to do is just have you
So
listen.
today we have
There you go.
got
Mark
access to
Golding.
a helicopter from a private company, and that's enabled me to come down. We flew over St. Elizabeth, had a look at the terrible damage. We landed in White House, which is where we are now. We visited also Burn Savannah, and we flew over Sab and other communities. Darleston, the devastation is terrible in Westmoreland. The people are really desperate. They need water, they need food. There are many communities that are still cut off, and where we need to open them up so that they can have some source of comfort and assistance. So this is the time now to really rev up the assistance, get it deployed into the communities, work with the members of parliament because they know where the needs are, work with the churches, work with the NGOs that want to help, so we can put a full force national effort with international support behind saving our country and rebuilding our country. And I'm committed to working, if I'm allowed, with the government in a joint effort to make it happen. And the people are very happy to see us. And I think we should be facilitated so that we can give them a sense of hope as well, that we're not forsaking them, that they matter, and that they're going to get support. And that's the message I've been bringing today.
Our people need food, they need water, they need everything. It's total destruction, total disaster. But we are here. We are here to do an assessment, to go back to ensure that we can get the necessary things that this constituency wants so we can move forward. We're going to build back stronger, and we're going to ensure that we take care of every Jamaican and every citizen of Western Westmoreland. That's the commitment they have from me as their member of parliament. Thank you.
I'm saying to residents, I'm here with you. My own accommodation in South Sea Park was destroyed as well. I'm trying to get to all the communities, but I use the same roads that you use. If they are blocked, I can't get there either. So we're trying to engage members, people who have backhoes, chainsaws and those things, so that we can clear the road and open up back access to the residents. Yes, I'm grateful that the leader has been here himself and he's been assisting in speaking to persons within the government and in the private sector so we can get help to the people of Eastern Westmoreland. I can make one assurance to you that we will never leave you and we will never forsake you and we will never allow anybody to treat this constituency like it doesn't matter. It will remain at the forefront for attention.
So hold straight, be positive, believe in our God, and everything will be all right. One love.
There you have it. There you have it. And that was eloquently said by Mark Golding and his team. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Keep up the good works. It is important, and I want to reiterate, only use official sources or institutions with long-standing credibility when making donations. Go to the Jamaican High Commission website. Again, on the edited version of this podcast, we will show the URL. Go to their website, or indeed attend the meeting being organised by Lee Jasper for the wider community, both for discussions and, of course, being co-sponsored by Victoria Mutual and Jamaican National. Okay, that's another important activity. So I'll put that screen there on the screen for you. The Jamaica Melissa response. So it would be at the Caribou Education Centre, 7 Gresham Road, London, SW9 7PH, which is on Thursday, the 7th of November, and we start at 7 p.m. sharp. Please do not be late. And again, in the further re-edited version of this podcast, We'll have details of the PNP's campaign to raise resources to support the relief effort in Jamaica. And be assured, the pictures and the images I've seen are horrifying. I'm not showing them, but I want to respect your mental health. But I hope the conviction that myself and my guests have projected to you today, it really underscores the importance of us all coming together, humanity coming together in support of those who are not the cause of climate change, but are suffering unjustly the impact of climate change. I want to thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. This helps us to communicate to a much wider audience and tell the YouTube algorithm that there's real interest in the messages from the Motivator Show channel. But if in doubt, ask questions. I say to you all, if in doubt, ask questions. Do not suffer in silence. We sincerely hope that you take care of yourselves why the lifestyle messages are so important. If you're affected by a wind rush, that you seek out the professional help that you aptly deserve. If you have family members who are war heroes and heroines, that we recognize them and applaud their sacrifice. And that, as Lee Jasper intimated in the interview, that the empathy, the compassion, that is what drives your actions for the future. And together we will transform the world. I know I say that often, but it's absolutely true. As King Kabbalah of the African Continental Unity Party would say, you are the change makers. You are the change makers. Don't wait for someone else outside of you. You are the change makers. It begins with you. It's your decision. It is your action that will be definitive, that will define the future. I should play a short piece of the intro video, and might play to the entirety of it. It's an important intro video because it sets the scene of what is happening right now. So if in doubt, ask question. The further podcast of the full interviews will be provided for the next 24 hours. So watch out on our YouTube channel. Watch this space. But until the next time, I remain the motivator.
There are storms that bend trees, and then there are storms that rewrite the map. On October 28th, 2025, Hurricane Melissa didn't just strike Jamaica, it tried to erase it. Meteorologists called it the strongest storm ever to hit the island. A monstrous Category 5 with winds topping 180 miles per hour. The eye of the storm churned over the small western town of New Hope, but the despair it unleashed touched every single parish. The first headlines told a grim story of catastrophe, widespread flooding, collapsed bridges and roads. Early reports estimated over 500,000 people were without power, that nearly 1.6 million residents were directly in the storm's path. Thousands were left without nothing. But beyond the shocking statistics and the satellite images of destruction, another story is unfolding in the heart of Jamaica. It's a story you won't see in the official damage reports. It's the story of what happens when everything is taken. All you have left is who you are. In the face of complete devastation, how do you even begin to rebuild from nothing? You hear it in the voice of the people themselves. A fisherman tells us, "We lost everything. It's a matter of hours. The sea that gave us life, it came back and take it back." A mother says, "The headlines tell you that we are victims, that we are in a disaster zone." A community leader adds, "But what them don't see is what happened now. Don't see the real Jamaica." This is not just Jamaica you see on the postcards. It's real life, the immediate aftermath of the storm of the century. And in the new reality, you find the heroes. For Simone, the spark was the sound of her child's laughter. Amidst all the mud and ruin, her youngest found a half-broken toy. In that one simple, innocent moment, Simone saw not what was gone, but what was still there, her family. With her bare hands, she starts to clear the entrance to her home. It's a monumental task, but it's an act of defiance, an act of hope. Her neighbour sees her and comes over with a shovel. No words were exchanged. None were needed. For Michael, the spark was a choice. He could focus on destroyed buildings, or he could focus on the people who once filled them. He gathered a few teenagers, and they begin the simple, vital work of checking on the elderly. They go door to door, not as officials, but as neighbors. Their simple question: are you all right? Do you need water? Becomes an anthem of solidarity. At a local community center, they start handing out bottled water and tarpaulin to anyone who needs them. This is the turning point. This is the moment people stop being victims of a storm and start writing their own story of survival. It's the decision made in countless homes and hearts across the island to not wait for a rescue, but to begin the rescue themselves. In that individual sparks quickly catches fire. Across Jamaica, quiet, powerful mobilization is underway, woven from the very fabric of the culture. It's a phenomenon born of shared history and deep-rooted community bonds. It's the spirit of one cocoa, full basket. The belief that every small contribution adds up to something whole. Let's be clear. The journey is far from over. The scale of the devastation is immense. The numbers are staggering. An estimated 6,000 people are displaced. It will take months, if not years, to rebuild the homes, the schools, the hospitals that were lost. The economic impact, especially on tourism and agriculture, is staggering. And the emotional toll, this trauma, will linger long after the physical scars have begun to heal. There are days filled with frustration, the slow pace of clearing the debris, the uncertainty of insurance, the sheer exhaustion of it all. The road ahead is long and is paved with challenges. But even in the struggle, signs of new life are emerging, beautiful and defiant. In a town where the school was destroyed, classes are being held in a tent, and the sounds of children learning once again fills the air. In a coastal village, a community kitchen has become the new town square, a place where stories are shared over a meal and laughter. For a moment, drowned out the sorrow, a farmer whose fields were washed away has carefully planted a single new seed in a pot, a quiet promise of a future harvest. These aren't grand gestures. They are small, vital signs of a nation refusing to be defined by a single event. They are proof that recovery isn't just about rebuilding the structures. It's about restoring hope. It's about reclaiming the rhythm of daily life. One repaired roof, one shared meal, one planted seed at a time. The work is hard, but the spirit is harder. Hurricane Melissa was a storm of historic power, a force of nature that brought Jamaica to its knees. But the storm made one critical miscalculation. It underestimated the strength of the Jamaican people. It mistook a small island for a small spirit. The story of Jamaica today isn't just one of just devastation. It's the ultimate story of resilience. It's a story of David, who is now teaching younger fishermen how to build a boat from salvaged parts. It's a story of Simone, whose small act of clearing her own doorway inspired her entire street to organize a community-wide cleanup. And it's a story of Michael, whose impromptu wellness checks have blossomed into a volunteer youth network that support the most vulnerable. This journey of rise again has just begun, fueled by a spirit that cannot be broken. It's a spirit captured in a timeless Jamaican proverb, a mantra now whispered in the street, felt in the very heart of the recovery. We're likkle, but we tallawah. We are small, but we are mighty.
The devastation is terrible in Westmoreland. The people are really desperate. They need water, they need food. There are many communities that are still cut off and where we need to open them up so that they can have some source of comfort and assistance. So this is the time now to really rev up the assistance, get it deployed into the communities. Work with the members of parliament because they know where the needs are. Work with the churches, work with the NGOs that want to help so we can put a full force national effort with international support behind saving our country and rebuilding our country. And I'm committed to working, if I'm allowed, with the government in a joint effort to make it happen. And the people are very happy to see us. And I think we should be facilitated so that we can give them a sense of hope as well, that we're not forsaking them, that they matter, and that they're going to get support. And that's the message I've been bringing today.
Our people need food, they need water, they need everything. It's total destruction, total disaster. But we are here to do an assessment, to go back to ensure that we can get the necessary things that this constituency wants so we can move forward. We're going to build back stronger, and we're going to ensure that we take care of every Jamaican and every citizen of Western Westmoreland. That's the commitment they have from me as their member of parliament. Thank you.
I'm saying to residents, I'm here with you. My own accommodation in South Sea Park was destroyed as well. I'm trying to get to all the communities, but I use the same roads that you use. If they are blocked, I can't get there either. So we're trying to engage members, people who have backhoes, chainsaws and those things, so that we can clear the road and open up back access to the residents. Yes, I'm grateful that the leader has been here himself and he's been assisted in speaking to persons within the government and in the private sector so we can get help to the people of Eastern Westmoreland. I can make one assurance to you that we will never leave you and we will never forsake you and we will never allow anybody to treat this constituency like it doesn't matter. It will remain at the forefront for attention.
So hold straight, be positive, believe in our God, and everything will be all right. One love.